Hi everybody, it's Mayura. One thing that has come up very frequently, especially in the world of wrapping, is what's appropriate at work. Now, there are a lot of people who work in all kinds of different work environments, and there are a lot of women who wear head coverings. They might do it for a lot of different reasons. They might cover for religious reasons, like I do. They might cover for medical reasons, or they might cover just to make a fashion statement. Could be anything. Of course, many of them want to know how to cover their hair so that they look their most professional. Now, one thing that people often mistake about me is that they think that since I don't wear a shaitel or a wig, they think that I'm against the wearing of shaitels. I'm not. I might be against wearing them, myself wearing them, because they don't suit, the concept of covering the hair with hair does not suit my personal style. But I am not against other women wearing them. In fact, I firmly believe that a clean, neat, flattering shaitel is fail-safe. It looks good and it's appropriate in pretty much every situation. I say pretty much because there are at least a couple of situations where a shaitel is not appropriate. I wouldn't tell you to wear a shaitel if you're going on the treadmill at the gym. But in most situations, a shaitel is fail-safe. It's a no-brainer. If it's clean, neat, and flattering, it works. And especially in the workplace, a lot of women choose to wear shaitels because it makes them feel more comfortable, more confident, more professional. And I will not argue with that. However, nowadays, it is much more up to the individual woman. There was a time when a shaitel really was the only way to go. But there was also a time when a shaitel was the only head covering to wear when you wanted to look good. We didn't have as many options as we used to. Even as late as the 1990s, we didn't always have a lot of options. Although even in the 80s, things began expanding. And nowadays, what's appropriate for the workplace has expanded. Now, no matter what, no matter where you work, no matter what you do have to dress to a certain level of professional polish. Now, that level might go up or down depending on your workplace's corporate culture, but no matter what, you always have to dress with some professional polish. And that goes for your hair coverings too. Good news is that you have options. A shaitel still works, and I will not argue with it, but it's not your only option. Now, a lot of people have asked, what do I do if I wear wraps? If I'm more comfortable in wraps? I myself am more comfortable in wraps. So what do? You have to breathe. You have to be prepared for the possibility that in your workplace, you might be the only woman who is not wearing hair, and you have to be okay with that. And if you are okay with that, then it's an option. But again, you have to be okay with it. The good news is, though, that it's not as much of a distraction as you would think. There are a lot of people who say that non-shaitel hair coverings are too distracting. I don't entirely agree. I find that in the workplace, non-shaitel hair coverings tend to be more of a curiosity, a novelty, and they make really great icebreakers and conversation starters. What's distracting is when the woman is not feeling comfortable psychologically and confident. Now, I say psychologically because physical discomfort can often be remedied. If she's wearing a physically uncomfortable shaitel, she needs to take it to her shaitelmacher and see if there's something that can be fixed. But if she's not psychologically comfortable, if she doesn't feel 1000% professional and confident and authentic, that will distract people more than anything else. And it will affect the woman's job performance and her relationship with her clients and her coworkers. So, what do? Let's say you are more comfortable in mitpachot. That's where my focus is. What you do in the workplace is you have to consider the corporate culture. There are 4 basic corporate cultures. There's formal, semi-formal, creative, and informal. Now within those, there are 1,000,001 different variations. Most workplaces do not fit neatly into one category. So you have to take a good look at where you're going to be working and who your coworkers are going to be, and see if you can get a feel for the vibe, for the feel. Now, if you work in a creative workplace like fashion or publishing or media, anything involving the arts, chances are you can do pretty much anything you want. In fact, creative touches are expected, and in fact, if you dress too conservative, you might look a little off. But in other workplaces, there's often the question of, how do I look appropriate? In an informal workplace, if you want to wear a wrap, there's nothing wrong with that. But one of the things you have to do is stick with very simple wraps. And since many informal workplaces involve a lot of dirty work, for example, if you're an engineer and you're working on the manufacturing floor, or if you are a scientist working in a research laboratory, or if you are an auto mechanic who has to get down under those cars, you need to keep any hair or anything else pulled back for safety reasons, which means any wraps you wear have to have no tails. One of my favorite wrap styles for work is the basic regal wrap. It's very easy to do. You just drape the scarf, and you can either crisscross or tie it just once. Then gather the tails. Oh, by the way, don't tie it too tight. Never tie it too tight or it will slip. Then you just drape the tails over your head. Tuck everything in. And you're good to go. And notice, this particular scarf is black. Classic neutrals are also fail-safe. You can't go wrong. They're simple and they're subtle, and they won't distract. One of the wraps, though, that I wear most often is my other favorite, the basic turban wrap. This one is draped from back to front. Just keep crisscrossing it, and then I tuck. And as you can see, it's neat, it's clean, it's simple, it works. Now let's say, though, that you work in a more semi-formal environment. Again, simple, sleek, subtle. Try to coordinate the color with your base outfit. It is okay to wear a color, no matter what workplace it is. But the more formal your workplace, the more subtle the color needs to be. For example, and what's more, it's always best to coordinate the color of your wrap with the base outfit. As you can see, I'm wearing a purple top, so I'm putting on a purple scarf here. This works too. Now, if I want to keep it more subtle, now especially if it's cold out, all I have to do is layer it with the black. And I still get the pop of color, but it's more subtle this way. So, if you want a more subtle look, this is how you get it. But in a more formal workplace, this is all the more crucial. You still want to keep your wrap very subtle and very simple. So again, you want to stick with very basic wraps, preferably the kind that only require one scarf, like a basic regal or a turban. And again, you want to stick with subtle colors. Now, if you're going to wear a bold print, which is okay even in a formal workplace, you still want to make sure, though, that you layer it, make it an accent. For example, see this print, it's a very bold print, but it works very well even in a more formal place. Again, it's just a matter of keeping it subtle, and then to really keep it from being too distracting, just layer it. Of course, there's no point if you don't let the color in the print peek out. But as you can see, you can get a really, really great look. And believe it or not, this is appropriate even in many of the most formal workplaces. I mean, hey, there are politicians who wear wraps. There are lawyers who wear wraps. My point is, non-shaitel hair coverings are an option nowadays. While shaitels are a good option, they're not the only one. And what you, the individual woman, what you need to do is you need to find the method of hair covering that makes you look and feel your best. Now also, I had mentioned tails earlier. Now, in an informal workplace, tails might not be appropriate for safety reasons. And in a corporate and in a creative workplace, pretty much anything goes. So of course, if you want to wear tails, go ahead and wear tails. But if you work in a semi-formal place, like education or a healthcare profession, be warned that in the health professions, if you work in a hospital, you might need to avoid tails also, again, for safety reasons. But if let's say you're a classroom teacher, or you work in a school otherwise, you might be able to wear tails, and if you find the tails are more flattering, that's okay. The key with tails, though, is to keep them on the short side. You need to keep them on the short side, and you need to keep them either in the back or off to one side, not both sides. For example, here's this. This is a turban wrap with a tail. The short tail does not get in the way, and it's very pretty and subtle. Now I'm doing it in a print, obviously, but you can do this with any solid color scarf. And again, it works. But in some places you might feel more formal and appropriate with the tails out of the way, and that, of course, is fine. Just tuck it up. Just tuck the tail up. That's all you gotta do. Now, in formal workplaces like law or accounting or business, you might think, oh no, you can't get away with anything like that. Wrong. You can wear a wrap. Again, it's gotta be simple and subtle, just in a color that is coordinated with your base outfit. And will it be distracting? If you hold your head high and you feel truly confident and professional in it, it won't be a distraction. It'll be an icebreaker, a conversation starter. If you are not comfortable in it, if you feel that it is too much, then it will be a distraction, in which case you shouldn't wear it. And I never recommend any over-the-top kind of a wrap, any big dramatic wrap for the workplace, because those tend to be way too distracting. Even if you think, oh, it's a novelty. In the most creative workplaces, they can work, but in places that don't call for that, it can be a distraction. So again, for the workplace, you want to keep your wraps very simple and very subtle and coordinated with your base outfit. But if you do that, if you feel comfortable and confident in that way, consider it an option. Just don't be afraid to try new things, and don't worry about old rules that are long dead. Play around, experiment, find what works for you. Bye.